I've been living off-grid in Idaho without having to pull any permits because of how I have set up this Apollo solar generator in my house. I'm going to show you exactly how I did it, what I can and can't run, how it saves me money by not paying a bill every month, but also how I earn about $10 a day being off-grid with solar. I have 20 400-watt solar panels set up here, and I've put them on these temporary treated lumber racks until I get my permanent ground mount in, which is going to be happening very soon and I'll have a video about. I'm starting this whole setup near the end of March, and currently I'm at 65% on the batteries and only bringing in about 2400 watts from solar. I need to actually make an adapter to go from my Apollos to my house, and so I bought an L1430R online, and I'm adding it to this NEMA 1450P. And it's actually very simple to do by stripping these wires and putting in the connectors. Everything's labeled. Anybody could do this. And now I have a homemade adapter that's going to work great. I'm simply going to take this AC output cable that comes with the Apollos when you get the split phase kit from poweredportablesolar.com, attach it all together with this L1430 extension cable. And this will allow me to run the 6,000 watts that these two inverters are rated to. Then I plug that into an adapter, which makes this an SS2-50 connection, which is how it connects to my house. I'm going to turn the AC output on, which just allows me to run the outlets. Boom. And here my sister's got to be really funny. She doesn't know that I'm filming, and she's just doing what sisters do. So I got this all turned off with my interlock switch turned on, and now we have power to the whole house. Both of these systems have one battery each, for a total of 21.5 kilowatt hours, and it's just after 6 p.m. on the first night. Now there's not a lot of good weather in the forecast here. It's going to be cold and cloudy and rainy, so I don't know how long this is going to last. My last test with the Delta Pro Ultra only lasted about a week, but we're running our fridge, oven, everything in the house is heated with propane, but our dishwasher is electric heat, as well as uses the well pump. We're doing laundry. Everything is life like normal except the electric dryer. We're not using the electric dryer. Even doing some video gaming. My sister is hanging out with my kids, just having some fun. Like I said, life like normal. But I was really surprised to find out that after 6 o'clock, I ended up getting a little bit more charge into the batteries. But using the app here, I can see I'm only using about 580 watts total, and then I no longer have any solar input in. But we noticed that the AC output on Apollo 2, that top line, is using a lot more energy than Apollo 1, and that's pretty typical in houses. Now, some lights with like LED filaments tend to flicker, so be aware of that. And at 7:30 the next morning, the furnace ran all night long. The house was toasty warm at 70 degrees. The batteries drained it down to about 35%. I'm running the furnace right now. You can see we're doing about 500 watts on one unit and about 1,500 watts on the other unit. Have to get my morning workout in. If you're into prepping, make sure you do your physical preparedness. It's one of the biggest things to slack on. And you can see the clouds, not that great as far as solar conditions go. And I have got to get to work. I mean, life is like normal. People who email me at info@poweredportablesolar.com, I help them find kits that work exactly for their needs, just like I did for my house here. Now, the Apollos are charging up. You can see it's 11 a.m. and we're barely getting any solar input. And out of nowhere, we got this crazy snowstorm. So we're not making really any power at all. And I thought that we were going to be doomed, that we'd not even last a day. But then out of nowhere, the sun comes out and starts melting everything and gives us pretty clear conditions. So the panels are now fairly clean, they're cold and they're efficient, and they're getting full sun. So now we're getting consistently just under 4,000 watts on each Apollo solar generator. And in less than 2 hours, we got fully charged up. And there's so much power coming in through the Apollos because of the high solar input that I'm charging up my Delta Pro Ultra. So I'm offloading all that excess here while running my microwave inside, which is pretty impressive. Now 11 o'clock at night, I'm checking the weather, and again, it doesn't look great, but we lucked out with a clear morning. So we're making breakfast, life is like normal, doing laundry, no hesitation there. And let's see, we are pulling about 300 watts here, about 9 a.m., and we're already bringing in 2,000 watts on each of the two units. So we're not even into solar peak hours, and we're already pulling in 4 kilowatts between these two systems combined. It's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm at 90% on each of these. So all day I've had about a constant 3,000 watt load between everything running in my house as well as the Delta Pro Ultra charging. And even with all of that, I got all the way up to 90%, and we're clearly gonna get up to 100% before the day is out. And you can see these are the solar conditions right now. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not great by any means. And I think that's one of the major benefits of the Apollo setup is you get so much solar input by having 2 units. Now it does suck that you have to have 2 units in order to get 240 volt split phase power, but with that gives me the added benefit that I'm getting way more solar input than I could on any other solar setup. But the biggest thing that I love about my Apollos is the self-balancing. It doesn't matter that this one is 9 times the amount of power that's being drawn, the battery percentage is still the same. It is sharing everything between these 2 units here, and I love that. Most people get 2 units in order to get the 240 volt split phase power. But if I really wanted to make this a long-term run my whole house off-grid permanently setup, I would use these 4 units. And that's why I have all 4 units, is so that I have the ability to run my house off-grid permanently. Right now, the only thing I can't run very effectively is my electric dryer. Everything heat related is propane in my house. So if you have anything that's electric heat, whether that's the oven, stove, water heater, furnace, air conditioning, all of that kind of stuff, you would definitely want to go to 4 Apollos if you want to be able to run the majority of that equipment at the same time. HiSolis is upgrading to a much more user-friendly adapter to put 4 Apollos together. So as soon as I get that, I'll make that video, show you guys how I live off-grid with it. But in the meantime, I see no issue with us doing this long-term. Collectively, we put in over 20 kilowatt hours of capacity through this system today while still running the house, and that's on a mostly or partially cloudy day. This is the power of having extra solar panels, and the solar panels are the most affordable part of the system, which is why I always recommend getting more solar panels, in addition to having a system that has high solar input. We're at about 60% starting the day off. Got just a tiny bit of solar input starting to come in, but this is what I have to work with, and it's supposed to get worse through the day. And you can just see that weather is just not doing so great for us, making it much harder to get a charge. Now you can see it's about 6 o'clock, and we got up to 75% by dinner time. Time to cook up dinner. We got stuff to go on the Traeger. 9:30 in the morning. Got down pretty low on the battery last night, but we can see we're already pulling in 1600 watts and climbing constantly. And that's on each unit. So we're getting 3200 watts between the 2 before solar peak hours. Now would you look at that? We've got our first chemtrail of the day, and that probably means it's gonna be overcast. You can see over here, very slightly overcast. We'll see how it progresses through the whole day. It ended up staying pretty clear for the day. It's kind of cool seeing these extra chemtrails get traced through the sky, but luckily the clouds cooperated with us today. One problem that I'm having is the app is not staying connected to the Apollos, and that's really frustrating. So I'm actually going to do a switch up here because I'm making so much excess power per day that I'm having to dump it into all these other solar generators and get them charged up. I'm basically going to take the 2 batteries that are on the very bottom of this U-line rack and attach them to the top setup that you see right here. So I'm going to shut down the whole system, which means I'm going to lose power to the whole house, and I'm just going to start getting everything disconnected. I'm not using these 2 other Apollos just yet, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but I'm going to show you how I put this all together. I'm disassembling this, and I don't recommend putting these up or down by yourself. They're about 135 pounds each. The batteries are closer to about 100 pounds each, so if you're feeling up to it, do it by yourself. I definitely don't recommend doing it that way though. So here I'm just going to stack 1 battery on the very bottom and then add another battery on top. This is perfectly okay to do according to HiSolis, but what they don't recommend is putting the Apollos on top of a double stack or higher battery because of a tilt hazard. For me, I don't have a lot of space in my garage, so I'm going to be as compact as possible, and be aware that these little feet pads do come off sometimes. So you can see I'm just putting these all back together, getting it connected in a split phase setup with the communication cables, and getting all the batteries reconnected. In total, This is going to give me 6,000 watts of output and now 32 kilowatt hours of battery capacity, which I'm very happy about because now I'll have a lot of room to put all that excess power I'm making per day. I'm going to reinitialize the system by turning it all on, connect the solar panels back into the system, and double check my settings to make sure we're all good for output, and then reconnect to the house. You can see the lights just turned back on and we're good to go, so I'm initializing the solar input. I got my app working again, everything reconnected, and you can see between the two units, I'm pulling in almost 100% efficiency from my panels. It's 4,000 watts each. And so now I'm gonna run my freeze dryer because I feel comfortable enough bringing in enough solar and having enough battery. Normally, I would not recommend this, but because the system is sized for it, I can do that. I'm loving this new setup with the 2 Apollos and the 4 expansion batteries because now I've got over 32 kilowatt hours of battery capacity. So I basically moved from running the silver kit on poweredportablesolar.com, which was enough to run my house. It was working great, but I had more panels. I had 20 panels rather than 14 panels because the silver kit comes with 14. I had 20, which is what's on the gold kit. So that's why I upgraded, is I have it here, and so I added the 2 extra batteries. So I've got this setup, which is the complete gold kit, but I'm running the freeze dryer and I don't know how long the load's gonna be. So I don't know if I'm gonna wake up to 20% because it's 3:45 in the afternoon. And that means we're just about to get out of solar peak hours and it's only been going for a couple of hours. Well, it's officially after midnight. We're at like 90% done on this and we're at 10.5 hours. I'm actually surprised how fast it's gone. Here we can see unit 1 is drawing 360 watts to run the house right now, and we're at 70%. And unit 2 is drawing 450 watts and is also at 70%. I have a really hard time describing how beneficial it is that these 2 units are balancing each other. I can have solar coming into one and no solar going into the other, and it will evenly charge both of them. Same thing, I can have a heavy load here and no load here, and they will stay the same battery capacity or the same state of charge. Now I'm really glad that I added the extra batteries today. I definitely would not have run the freeze dryer without adding the batteries and upgrading it to the gold kit. That's just definitely too much power to be demanding off of a system with only 2 expansion batteries. The 4 batteries is definitely the way to go for this setup. You can see that tomorrow and the day after is supposed to be stormy and rainy. I'm gonna have fun putting this to the test to see if the Apollos will get us through 2 days of storms, because that's gonna freaking suck. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's go ahead and see. Yep, those look done. And a draining system of 43%. Starting to get a little solar in. You can see it's a very gloomy day. Nothing very good as far as weather goes. And here's what we're looking at for our solar input. We're bringing in about 1,000 watts, so we're at roughly 15% of the solar input, which is more than what I'm currently using in the house. So that's definitely good, but I don't know that it's going to be enough today in order to get through the night and then tomorrow. Well, I'm really surprised. It's 6 o'clock in the evening now. We're at 75%. We are running a washing machine as well as cooking some dinner in the oven. We just got done running a load in the dishwasher, and we've got the air fryer getting some tater tots to go with dinner. And we're running a KitchenAid, making some cookies right now. Well, it's 11 o'clock at night. I want to see what we're at. Currently sitting at 51%, only using 250 watts here. And here we're at 49% using 942 watts. And the furnace is blowing right now, so it's pretty obvious that the furnace is on this leg of the electrical panel. We do have an alert here, W10, so that means that this went over 3,000 watts output. My wife actually decided to do carpet cleaning tonight, so she carpet cleaned the upstairs, and that was using a ton of power, as well as doing the dishes, as well as doing the laundry, all at the same time. And that was after doing all of that stuff at dinner. It was really funny when I came upstairs and she was doing the carpet cleaning. I pulled up my app and I was like, wow, that's using a lot of power. And she's like, oh, I forgot we're on solar. She has said that so many times since running this system. So it's kind of funny to me because life is going on like normal. The only exception is we're not using our big electric dryer because that would draw so much power. Kids are doing all their stuff, playing video games, cooking dinner, anything we want to do just like normal. See, it's 10 in the morning, holding at 30%. This is what our day looks like as far as our weather. So, gotta be a little tricky to get some solar input in. And you could just see it started raining and then it was sunny, but not too long, because then the next day it was raining, and then the next day was kind of in between, a little bit sunny, a little bit cloudy, and then it was sunny the next day and had some fun chasing the ducks around. And then we had another pretty good day and life just went on like normal. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but to make this long story shorter is we lived life totally like normal. We changed none of our habits with the exception of using our electric dryer. You can see we had another day with snow and rain and dark clouds, and we just kept on with food preservation. We like to keep lots of things on hand. We want to keep our fridges and freezers operating, which is another reason why I love backup power. Can enjoy watching movies together with my family, working out at home, running the furnace without any hesitation to keep us comfortable, doing dishes, which uses a lot of energy, and of course, keeping our laundry clean, doing more dishes as usual, and continuing to work out and be fit. And we even ran the heating mode on the Mr. Cool mini splits. Now, you would expect these to use a lot of power, but you can see we're only using 950 watts collectively through the whole house, and we're getting 96 degrees heat out of that heat pump. And I even ran the sprinklers, which uses a lot of energy because it's starting to warm up outside. So we're using about 1300 watts on the second unit, which is the one that uses the most energy usually, and about 1000 watts on the first unit. So collectively, we're using a lot of energy. And you can see in the top right here that we're now in the middle of May. We've been running for 6 weeks at this point without paying any bill and living off-grid life like normal. And the solar panels continue to do really well. Now I'm about to put these on the permanent ground mount, and that's going to make them a lot better because it'll be season adjustable. The only issue I had the whole time was with the app connectivity, and I finally got that worked out with HiSolus. I'm making so much extra energy that I decided to start running my crypto miner. Now this is the way that I can make about $10 a day extra. It depends on the day because it's kind of like stock market, it ebbs and flows, but I'm using 13 amps out of 240 volts from these two units. And I'm literally making money for free by doing this crypto mining. I use the Kadena crypto miners. So you can see here, I'm checking it right now, and now you can see my bill. You can see March 25th was the last date that I had any energy usage from my power company, which is Rocky Mountain Power, and we are living 100% free off-grid. So there's only one thing left to do at this point, and that is to expand the system up to 4 Apollos. So that way we have 12,000 watts of output capacity, 43 kilowatt hours of capacity, and then just under 18 kilowatts of solar input. That's 18,000 watts. And no other system, even the Delta Pro Ultra or Bluetti units, are capable of having that much battery expandability and solar input at the same time, which is why the Apollos are my #1 choice when it comes to solar generators. Just the sheer fact that these units have not given me any issues except for the app connectivity, and I've been able to successfully run my house continuously. So if you subscribe and click the bell, you'll know when I put out my video about living off-grid with 4 Apollos. But in the meantime, if you click up in the top right, you'll see how this compares to the Delta Pro Ultra if you're kind of deciding between those two. In the meantime, be prepared, and I'll see y'all in the next video.